everyone, and welcome to this webinar. In the next sort of half an hour or so, I'm going to be telling you how to make a supercore learning grid. So we've got Dave on support. So if anyone has any questions or anyone's having any problem with the sound, do just let him know and he'll be able to help you out. So, supercore learning grids. Firstly, let's just talk very quickly about Supercore, which is a core vocabulary system which is really designed to be easy to learn and use. But if you want more information about that, there's lots on our website and there's also some webinars that you can watch to find out more. So, what are the learning grids? You can see I've got Grid Explorer. Let's just have a quick look at this. Here we go. So I've got the learning grids here, and I'm going to show you everything in grid 3 today, but you can also get these on Grid for iPad. So the learning grids were really designed to be a simple way to get started with AAC and just explore using symbol communication. So let's open them up and have a look. They're taken from Supercore 30 and 50. So Supercore 30 and 50 are the full vocabularies and they've got the activity grids built into them. So this is really a way of simplifying that down and giving learners somewhere to start. If they're not quite ready for that full vocabulary, maybe they're learning their access method or they're just building up their confidence with making selections and using symbols to communicate. The learning grids come in two different sizes. So we've got 12 cell and 20 cell. We've got daily activities, things you do every day like washing, dressing and sleeping. And then we've got play activities as well. So really about being motivated and finding fun ways to communicate. So I'm going to show you a couple of play activities, but we're also going to look at an activity that might be suitable for an older learner. Okay, so if I go into one of these, I'm going to go in here. The learning grids are divided into a simple core on the left-hand side, and then activity-specific words on the right-hand side. I'm going to use the menu bar to just jump home and show you the same in 20 cell. So again, we've got a simple core and activity-specific words on the right-hand side. So thinking about I'm going to say what that is, just in case anyone's not quite sure what, they hear people talking about core vocabulary all the time, but they're not quite sure what that is. Core vocabulary is the words that we can use all of the time in lots of different situations. We can use them really flexibly and they're not specific to an activity. So I can say the word want, I can say the word good, I can say those in lots of different situations. A word like bubbles and a word like pop, those are much more specific to an activity. So you'll notice that in all of the learning grids, this core on the left-hand side stays the same. And that's to help build confidence with learning to use those words and learning to use them in lots of different situations and activities. And we know from the research that actually having this core and fringe shown at the same time can really help increase the use of AAC. So it's a real positive. Okay, I'm going to jump back home now and I want to show you Grid Explorer view. So again, I'm going to go to my menu bar and go into Edit Grid and go to, sorry, not Grid Explorer, Grid Set View. Grid Set View. So that lets me see all of the different activities. Just to highlight what I was saying to you before, you can see this core vocabulary on the left-hand side always stays the same. Okay. So sometimes as well, just to let you know, you might have heard people call these symbol grids aided language displays. That's just another way of saying this is an activity grid that uses symbols, and I can use these to model language within an activity. So let's get started. You've watching the webinar to learn about how to make one. So let's have a go at our first learning grid. I want to start just with a few sort of tips and tricks for things that will really help you when you are making a learning grid. So let's out of that one, just jump home while I'm just giving you these tips. So the first thing is to choose a fun and motivating activity. So something that the learner is going to want to talk about. That's the first tip. And make sure it's something that the learner wants to talk about, not something that you want to talk about, because you might not get as much out of them if it's actually something they don't want to talk to you about. The second big tip is to use the templates. So you don't have to make the learning grid from scratch. We've got templates in the grid set to help you. So if you go to the menu bar, go to Edit Grid, we're going to go back into that grid set view up in the top left corner that I showed you before. So as well as being able to see all of the different daily activities and play activities, right there at the top, I've got these two template grids, which will help me because I won't have to recreate those core vocabulary words on the left-hand side. They're already there for me. So I'm going to choose the 20 template and I'm going to copy that template, ready for my first activity. So the activity that I've chosen is a puzzle. So you can see it's an insert puzzle. I've got lots of different animals. So I'm going to start by renaming the grid puzzle. Okay, so that takes me straight away into that grid that I've just made. You can see at the top, it's called puzzle. And then I've got all of these spaces to play with, so I can put lots of new activity words in. Thinking about the puzzle, it could be very tempting to just put in the names of all the animals. So I've got crocodile, hippo, zebra, giraffe, monkey. But if I do that, that's actually going to use up most of those cells, and I'm not really going to be able to say very much except name the animals. So I'm going to do something a little bit different. And instead, I'm going to put in some other words. So the first word I might think of would be puzzle. Okay, so I'm not going to go down the route of putting in all of the different names of the animals. I'm going to think of other words that I might use when I'm talking about it. So puzzle, piece. Okay, so on any blank cell, I'm using my keyboard and I'm pressing enter, but you can also click on create cell over on the left hand side, and that will do the same thing. It needs to be a right cell, and then I can click on OK. Another word. So I've got a couple of names of things. It's really good when you're making a learning grid to try and think about different types of word. So we don't want to just have lots of names of things, but let's try and have some action words as well. So let's think put, because I'm going to be putting those pieces. I'm going to be putting them in, so that would be another good word. Again, just making a right cell. In. I'm going to choose that symbol there. Okay. And I'm going to choose, well, thinking about what I might be saying when I'm doing this puzzle is when I'm trying to put a piece in and it doesn't fit, I might need to turn the piece. I might need to turn it. So let's have another action word there. Turn. Okay. I might need some help. That's a really, really useful word. So one thing to think about when you're choosing these words is, whilst they are the activity-specific words, you can also try and think what word would be a really good word for that learner to know. And often it comes back to core words. So this is Supercore 50. This is the low-tech, and it's got lots and lots of core words on. So if you have a look at Supercore 50 or Supercore 30 here, then you'll see lots of these words are core words, and I'm actually going to use lots of them here. So I've got in, put, turn, help. Those are words that would be useful to learn and use in lots of different situations. So what else for my puzzle activity? I might have some big pieces. I might have some little pieces. I might need a different piece. Okay. I might want to choose the piece. Choose. Okay. We might need to try turning, or we might need to try again. Oops. Try again. Okay, so I've put in lots of words. I've tried to put in different types of words. I've tried to think about words that might be useful to teach so that learner can use them in different activities as well as this puzzle activity. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to change the style of these so that I'm trying to teach the different types of words. So you'll see over here we've got some color-coded cells, and you'll also see in grid set view that the words on all of the other boards, on all of the other grids, are color-coded. So I'm going to do the same with my new puzzle grid. So don't worry too much about this. You don't have to be a speech and language therapist to sort of be able to do some of this color coding, because I'm going to try and explain it to you now. So if we go up to Style, Puzzle, and if I do my drop down menu and scroll up to the top, I've got adjectives, little words, nouns, pronouns, and verbs. So I'll just tell you a little bit quickly about what those are in case you're not familiar. So nouns, that's things. So anything that's a thing, it can be helpful if you can say the word a or the in front of it. So a puzzle, the puzzle, it's usually a noun. Okay, so the piece, a piece, that's another noun. Put, so that's an action word, which is something that I can do, and those are verbs. I've got another one here, help, that's an action word, something that I can do. Turn, I can turn the piece, that's something I'm going to do, again that's a verb. In, so sometimes if you're not sure what a word is, quite often it means it's a little word, because that sort of captures lots of different types. Anything that's not a thing or an action or a person or a describing word, we can call it a little word. So I've got big, little and different. Those are all words I can use to describe something. So I might be describing the puzzle piece. So I'm actually going to select all of these and turn those into adjectives. Choose, I've got another verb there, that's something I can do. And then try again is another verb. And again, that's one of those little words. There we go. So that's looking lovely. That's looking like lots of my other learning grids. And the next thing to do is just to think about where those words are on the grid. It can be really nice to try and move the words around in a way that helps the learner to put words together. So I'm going to choose the word put, and I'm going to put it up the top, because that's a really, really useful word. And I tend to, in Supercore, generally the words that are the most useful, I'm going to want to get to them the quickest, are at the top of the grid. Because when you're reading or when you're looking at something, it's quite natural for you to start in that top left corner, because that's how we read, and to look across the grid and then down. So I'm going to put those really important words near the top. So I think in my puzzle activity, I'm probably going to be talking about putting the piece in quite a lot. So in is another word. I'm going to have that quite near the top, and maybe help, because our learner might need some help with the puzzle. Also going to have the word turn, so I might need to be turning those pieces. And choose. So I don't want to just be doing all of the puzzle myself, I want the learner to be choosing the different pieces. So again, I can put the word piece next to choose. Okay. Let's put these like this. I might want to say, I want a different puzzle, or let's try again. We can put it in and we can choose a piece. So I'm going to finish editing, save my changes. The next thing to do, one of my next top tips, is to try out the words that you've put in before you try it with the learner, because you might find that some of the words that you need aren't there, or you might find that some of the words that are there, actually, you're not really using them. So just imagine you're playing the activity with the learner. I've got my puzzle, and like I was just saying there, I can say, oh, I want to put it in. And all of these words work by themselves as well, so we don't have to be combining them. We might just be saying help, or we might just be saying again. If we've got to the end of the puzzle, we want to do it again, we can say again, or we could say try again. We could say it's a good puzzle, or I need a big piece. Okay, I might say I'm going to put it in, or I might say you put it in. So I'm really happy with that grid. I think I'm going to leave that, and I'm going to show you a different example with another activity. So let's go into edit mode, go to grid set, and then go to that template. Remember, I don't want to have to make it all again. Copy the template, and my next activity, I'm going to make it a little bit harder now, is this farm activity. As you can see, there's lots and lots of toys. So I'm not going to be able to use the names of all of the items that I've got in here. I'm going to have to think about the vocabulary quite carefully. But first, let's rename that grid farm. Okay, so I've got my farm activity. So the top tips, I've chosen something that's fun. I'm using the template. I've got the things that I'm going to need for that activity. So don't try and do this when you haven't got the things there, because that's going to make it a lot more likely that you'll forget words and you won't be able to do as much of that practicing as easily as if you've got all of the items there from the start when you're planning that learning grid. So let's get some of them out. We can start thinking about what words we're going to use in the activity. So on my farm, I have got a tractor, nice and motivating. I've got a tree. I've got some little people. I've got a horse. I'm going to try not to just start playing. I've got some animals. I've got lots of animals here on my farm. I've got a little bench for the people to sit on, a little buggy for the baby to go in, something that the animals can drink from, and I've got some food, okay, for the animals to eat. So I've got lots and lots of things here, so you can see. I'm not going to be able to have the names of everything, so I'll have to have a think about that. So I want to try and choose words that are going to be useful in this activity, but might be useful in other activities. I want to choose some different types of words. So those action words, the doing words, the describing words, and try and make sure I've got a nice mixture of those and those little words, okay, as well as having the names of things. Let's start with the names of things. So I'm going to go to Create Cell. I've got my right, so it's the same thing every time. Because I've got quite a lot of animals, I'm not going to be able to put all of their names in. So I'm just going to say animal. I'm going to put in person for the same reason. So I've got quite a few little people, I could have baby, girl, woman, and man, but that's going to take up lots and lots of those cells. I'm trying to think of the most useful words. I'm going to have person, and then because it's probably going to be one of the more exciting things in this game, I'm going to put the word tractor in. Okay, tractor. There we go. So I've got a few things. I can change the style of those as I go along. That might help me to make sure I've got a mixture of those words. So these are all nouns. There we go, they're all things. So now I'm going to think about some action words. What might be happening as I'm playing with these different toys. So maybe the animals are going to want to eat something. And they might want to drink something. And I might want to push the tractor. I might want to put the people or the animals in the tractor. So I've got the word in. Just going to add the picture in. I'm going to the Home tab, choosing the picture. And I'm going to choose put. So we had that word in the last activity. It's a really useful one. I can put the person in. I can put the animal in. Okay. I might want to make the people sit in the tractor. Or remember, we've got this little bench. They could sit on the bench and they could sit on the horse. So that's quite a useful word. I can put that in. I can use it in lots of different ways in this activity. Let's change the colour of those. So eat, drink and push. Those are all things that I can do. These are all verbs. They're all action words. In is another one of those little words. There we go. Put and sit are both things that I can do. So I'm going to change those to verbs. And I haven't got any describing words, so I can see, now that I've changed the style of them, I can see I haven't got any adjectives. So let's have some of those. I'm actually going to have the same ones that I had in the puzzle activity. I'm going to have big, little, and different, because I think those are all going to be useful in this activity. Because I haven't been able to put in the names of all the different animals and the different people, I might want to have these describing words, so I could say it's one of the big animals, or I want a little person. I'm talking about the baby. Okay, let's just have a look back at that previous activity by going to grid set and see where I put those words, because it'd be really helpful if I can try and keep things in a similar place. The learner's not going to have to learn where words are in different places when they do a different activity. They can become a bit more familiar, just like with the core vocabulary. So I've got big and little, I've got put and in. So let's try and put those ones in the same place. I've got put, in, big, little, and different was there as well. Okay, so again, thinking about putting words next to each other, because that can be helpful. So I could say put in the tractor. Okay. And I'm going to move those up here. Oh, there you go. And then I've got person in, animal in. Okay. Or, yeah. So I'm going to finish editing. And then my next tip, remember, was to try it out. So try it before you're with the learner and see what things that you can say when you've got your play activity. So you could say things like put in. I want an animal. Different animal. Maybe it's a big animal. Push tractor. And then I could say, you push. And then I'll push. Okay? Maybe I might say, I want more animals in the tractor. So again, I'm happy with that. I've got quite a few different things I can say. So I'm going to show you one more example now, and I'm going to show you an example for an older learner. So let's move our farm out of the way. So I know that some people using SuperCore are older. So the activity that I've chosen is nail painting. Okay, so let's, don't worry too much if you're not going to be into nail painting, it's just an example. But I'm going to go to Edit Grid, go to my template, copy my template, call it nail painting, and then I've got my blank cells. One thing that can be helpful, if you are like this, you're making lots of learning grids, you want to make lots of new activities, it can be helpful to just make up a table like I've done here. And all I've done is I've written some reminders for myself. So I've got things, brackets, I've put nouns, actions, which are verbs, describing, which are adjectives, and little words. And then I'm going to write the words down here in my table. And that might just help me to plan out and make sure that I've got a nice mixture of different types of words. But whatever works for you, sometimes it's easier to just make the grid and change it as you go along. Okay, so my nail painting activity, I've got some nail varnish, I've got some cotton wool, nail varnish remover, I've got a nail file, I've got some scissors. Okay, so let's have a think about what words we might want if we were doing that activity with someone. The first thing I'm thinking is I probably want to have the word nail. Okay, and I'm going to want to have the word nail varnish. There we go. And very important, when you're having your nails done, you want to be able to choose the colour that you have. So just like before, I'm not going to put in the names of all of the different colours that I could possibly paint my nails, because that's going to take up lots and lots of spaces. And remember, when you're working with the learner, you can always show them the different choices and they can tell you non-verbally, or they can look at the one that they want or maybe point. Or you could have a separate choosing grid with the colours on if you wanted to. But I'm not going to put them on here because they'll take up too much space. So I put the word colour in. Okay. Then I've got a nail file. So I'm going to have the word file, which could be a thing or an action. So it's, oh, okay, so that's not the right picture, the wrong type of filing. So I'm going to go to find picture. It's a nail file. There we go. That's a better picture. Nail file. Okay. I might need to cut my nails. So I'm going to have that word there, cut. I'm going to paint my nails. I'm going to change the symbol for that one because that looks a little bit, I'm not quite sure if that looks right for this activity. So I'm going to choose one that's got a paintbrush and you can see the colour coming off it. There we go. So I've got some things, I've got some action words. I'm going to have some describing words now. So I might want short nails, or I might want long nails. I might want to choose a different colour. Let's have a look. Let's go back to the style and see what types of words we've got. So nail, varnish and colour. Those are all things. Because I can say a nail, the varnish, a colour. Nouns. So These are all going to be actions I'm going to be doing in this activity. So I'm going to be painting, cutting, filing. So they're all verbs. And then I've got some describing words. So some things I haven't got yet that I might want. I might want some little words. So let's try, let's say, again. So maybe I've painted my nails and I want to paint them again. And I did show you at the beginning I've got some nail varnish remover and I've got some cotton wool. But if I put the words nail varnish remover and cotton wool, they're probably not going to be useful in any other activity. So I'm going to put the word off instead, because that's a word I can use all of the time. Okay. And one more I need to put in is choose. So I can say I want to choose the colour. I might want to choose a different colour. So choose is an action word. Off is a little word. And again is a little word as well. There we go. So I'm going to go back into grid set, just have a look at where I put the words in my other grids so I can see I've got different, and again those are words I've used in all of these activities. So you can see how useful they are. I've also got choose. So I'm going to put this one up here. And I'm going to put the word colour next to the word choose because I might want to choose a colour. Okay, and paint, that's going to be really important. So I'm going to put that one right at the top because that's what I'm going to be painting my nails. Okay, so like we did before, finish editing and try it out and see how that sounds. Can you say lots of different things? Can you be modelling different language? Is the learner going to be able to say lots of things that are useful in that activity? So I might want to say, I want nail filed. I want my nails filed. Or I want to paint my nails. Okay. Or maybe I need more colours. So I can choose a different colour. I might want to file my nails shorter. Okay, so again, I'm happy with that grid. I've got lots of different things that I can say. And I'm going to go through the top tips one more time. So we've chosen fun activities that we think the learner's going to enjoy. I've used the templates, so I haven't had to add in these core words on the left-hand side. They're already there for me. I've got all the things together that I'm going to use in the activity so that I can be really thinking about the words I choose as I go along. I've chosen different types of words, so I've got describing words, names of things, but not too many. I've got some little words and I've got action words. And I've got quite a lot of action words because they tend to be more useful than anything. And I've also tried to, wherever possible, choose words I'm going to use in this activity, but in other activities as well. And then the last tip is just to try it out before you actually are with the learner. Okay, so if you've got any questions, do post them in the chat and I'll just have a look and see if we've got any questions that have come through. Okay. Yep, so one person has asked if they can have a lower cell count learning grid. So if I go into edit mode, go into grid set, I've been showing you the 20 cell learning grid, but we have also got the 12 cell learning grid. So if I wanted to do one of those for any of these activities, let's copy that. And I'm going to pretend I was doing my puzzle activity, but with 12 cells. Okay, so now I've got even fewer cells and fewer words. I have to think more carefully. So I can have a look here. What I might want to do to start with is copy these ones and see what that looks like. So I'm copying them, going up to grid set to get back to my new grid, and I'm going to paste them. Okay, so first thing to do would be to test that and see what things I can say. So I can say, I want put in, I need help. And because I've put those really important words right at the top, I think I'm going to be able to use those quite nicely at the 12 cell as well as the 20 cell level. I can choose a piece, I can turn the piece, I can try again, I can ask for a big piece. I might want to change the word big for different because that's quite a useful word, but generally I'm happy with that. And someone else has also asked if they can have a learning grid with even fewer words on, so only 6 instead of 12. So I wouldn't really recommend going below 12 because as soon as we start making that grid even smaller, it limits the things that we can say. So it limits the things that I can say when I'm working with the learner, but it also limits the things that the learner can say. So when they're exploring language, they won't have as many words to explore. So if I only give them 6 words, they're only going to be able to say 6 different things. And another difficulty with that as well is that what we're trying to do is think about what the learner might want to say. And the more we restrict it, the more likely we are to get it wrong. And if we give them the wrong 6 words, and they don't want to say any of those words, then they might not engage as well with that activity. So I'd really try and stick with this 12 cell layout if you can. All right. And then we've had one other question about, can I print them? Yes, yes you can. So if I go up to the menu bar, and this is in grid 3, then I've got this option here to print. I can say print current grid, and off I go. And once I print, I'll be able to, I can laminate that and I can maybe have it in the box with the puzzles. So if I've got any learners who aren't using high tech, they're not using an electronic device, they can use this in paper form as well. So yes, that's a really good question. Okay, it looks like those are all the questions that we've got today. So thanks very much for watching this webinar. Hope you found it helpful. And if you do have any other questions, then please do feel free to get in contact with us at hello@thinksmartbox.com. Thank you.